Welcome to Quality Quotes, in which I read a quote from the work of the great Robert M. Pirsig and discuss how its wisdom can help us live a better life. Today's quote is from Chapter 1 of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. These roads are truly different from the main ones. The whole pace of life and personality of the people who live along them are different. They're not going anywhere. They're not too busy to be courteous. The here-ness and now-ness of things is something they all know about. It's the others, the ones who've moved to the cities years ago, and their lost offspring who have all but forgotten it. The discovery was a real find. I've wondered why it took us so long to catch on. We saw it, and yet we didn't see it. Or rather, we were trained not to see it, conned perhaps, into thinking that the real action was metropolitan, and all this was just boring hinterland. It was a puzzling thing. The truth knocks on the door and you say, "Go away, I'm looking for the truth." And so it goes away. Puzzling. Well, much of rural America has fallen into disrepair and dysfunction due to lack of industry and influx of opioids. There are still small towns across this country that have this feeling about them. The pace is different. I know. I live part of the week in one of these towns. These attributes that Pirsig describes still exist. There is the here-ness and now-ness about life, in which you don't get that sense of impatience with interactions with people, that they are just getting through what they have to say to you so that they can get what they need from you and move on to the next thing. They are courteous. They live here, they're staying here, and they are content. Now all that's left is to live life as well as possible without the need of neurotically striving for fortune and prestige. There is a chronic condition in our country today which infected urban areas and has gotten much worse. The symptoms are the beliefs that higher education equates with superior intelligence, that virtue signaling equates with virtue, that religion is superstition, and that any difference of opinion on these matters constitutes ignorance and malevolence. I can attest for a long time that I had this disease, the disease of elitism. And we, the elites, are conned, brainwashed into believing this propaganda about ourselves and our lifestyle of urban sophistication and moral superiority. What this serves to do is sequester us into what Pirsig called a cultural immune system, where we've got a wall around us and there's no door for anyone or anything to come in. And anything that keeps us locked into a system in which change, in which dynamism can't enter, is low quality. This low quality translates into a complete and utter cluelessness about other modes of understanding and living, some of which are high quality indeed. Worse, it turns our fellow man into enemies for no reason whatsoever. Let me give you an example. How many professional motorcycle mechanics do you know that went to Harvard, or any other university for that matter? That whole mechanical way of understanding, that craftsmanship, that very engaging with the physical nature of reality, you are unlikely to find within this wall of elitism where we live in our heads. Working with one's hands is primarily the domain of the non-elite, let's say. So what's the antidote for this disease? For me, 3 books helped a lot. The first is an older one by Joe Bagent, Deer Hunting with Jesus, in which a hippie returns to the town of his birth, Winchester, Virginia, and seeks to understand its residents and let us know what we're doing wrong. The second is Hillbilly Elegy, very similar book, but most importantly is Jonathan Haidt's Righteous Mind. This last one should be required reading on how to get out from behind whatever wall or bubble is keeping you from understanding your compatriots. Also, another thing you could do, why don't you get to know your mechanic? Now let's go back to something Pirsig said about these folks. They operate with a here-ness and now-ness. What does this remind you of? Well, the first thing I thought of was this is the Eastern approach. The folks that Pirsig referred to already have this now-ness built into their way of being. As they say, Zen is nothing special. This quote contains one of those great lines that most people remember even after the first reading. The truth knocks at the door, and you say, "Go away, I'm looking for the truth." And so it goes away. I think it is the truth of peace of mind that city dwellers lack. With this constant striving, unconsciously they know it's missing. Thus the mindfulness revolution. Thus the pop Buddhism craze. But almost like they can't help themselves, Satori becomes an object of pursuit. These urban sophisticates have met the Buddha on the road and welcomed him with open arms. True peace of mind is knocking, saying, please open the door. This Buddha they send away. So the theme here is open those doors for a quality existence, the one holding in the system and the one keeping out the truth. So I hope that made sense, and I will see you next week for another quality quote.